We could be getting the biggest news ever for Grounded at the Xbox Game Showcase tomorrow. There have been rumors and leaks surrounding the show, including some for Grounded. In this video, I want to look at 11 things we might see revealed during that show. Before we begin, I want to thank King Bling Blog Gaming, Lyndon Dade, Matthew Campbell, Stephen Van, and all my other channel members for helping make videos like this possible. Click the join button below or the link in the description to become a channel member today. Thanks again to all my channel members. Let's get started. So for this video, I put together a list of 11 things we might see revealed at the Xbox Game Showcase tomorrow revolving around Grounded. And I want to start off with the big one that's going to be possibly the release date for 1.0. There has been some leaks from some credible sources saying that we might get the 1.0 release date tomorrow. I do think that's completely possible because the game is going to be wrapped up this year. They want to probably get out when it's going to be releasing. Now, the dates that it might be releasing, I think there's two likely cases. One would be possibly as soon as the end of July, which would be the 2-year anniversary of the game releasing, which it released on July 28th, 2020. The other will be sometime around maybe like Halloween time, so probably like the September to late October time range. I don't think they're going to push it any later than that because unless there's nothing else being revealed for November. November is usually the big time for Xbox to release games or for Microsoft to release games, and it looks like there's a possibility that Obsidian's one of their other big games, Avowed, might be being pushed up to late 2022, which would push it around that time frame. And I doubt they'd want Grounded to be competing with that. Although if that game is not coming out this year, it could be that Grounded is going to be the game that fills the void. And as you can see here, I've been super prepping for the 1.0 update. While I do fully intend to start over fresh when the update comes out, I have been stocking up on SAP. This is my main survival world, just to prepare in case 1.0 does come out sooner rather than later, because I do want to make sure I cover all the new content that could possibly be coming out in that when that happens, especially if it's sooner rather than later. Now, the second thing I think might be mentioned would be the next update. So if the 1.0 update is not happening in the very near future, or even if it's happening in a couple of months from now, there's a good chance they might show off the next update, because the last update didn't really add much to the game in terms of like new content. It did add obviously the armor upgrade systems, which were a big change, and they did of course update this giant part of the map up here, which leads me to believe that that next update might be coming sooner rather than later, because the work might have already been done for that area over there, as well as perhaps if we're going under the shed, because there has been some rumors that we might be going under the shed at some point, and there is music to kind of validate that a little bit, although there's been no confirmation from the developers regarding that. There is a chance we might be going under the shed, so perhaps they've already done the work for that, as well as the part of the yard that's over here, and they maybe just drop the next update. So if we don't get 1.0 news, which I am expecting we probably will get the 1.0 date, at least the date. If we don't get that, though, I fully expect them to announce that there's either a new update coming immediately after the show happens tomorrow, or perhaps it will be in the very near future, maybe in a couple weeks, so that they can kind of build hype for it. It doesn't really make sense to me for them to have just shown off the new Bug Strike Back update at PAX East, which was a couple of weeks ago, for them to just show all the same content at the Xbox Game Showcase, which is kind of like their bigger showcase. It would have made sense for me, from my perspective, it would have made sense for them to kind of hold back the bigger information, or hold back some of the information, because why would you go into your own company, basically your own company showcase, and not have anything new to show? So aside from that, there's a lot of other things I think could be revealed tomorrow, especially if they talk about new updates. First is going to be potentially a new boss. Now, I don't remember hearing this, but other people I have heard when I was watching some Grounded streams this week have mentioned that they believe that the developers said there will be at least another boss before 1.0 release, perhaps. So if that's the case, I think the most likely boss that would be added next, in any case, would be the Ant Queen. The Ant Queen did appear on the feature board. For the longest time, the Ant Queen is no longer on the feature board. There's just a spot now that says new bosses coming in the future. We do know, or at least I know, that the Ant Pheromone, which was actually in, I believe it was the Into the Wood update. Yeah, I believe it was the Into the Wood update. The Ant Pheromones were actually in the game. If you went into Creative, you could actually see them in the menu, and you could try to craft it, but I think it ended up crashing the game, so we didn't end up seeing what it actually would do. I was guessing then, from a logical perspective, that there's one of two things the Ant Pheromone could do. One would be obviously to summon in the Ant Queen, similar to how the Broodmother BLT summons in the Broodmother. It would kind of make sense for the Ant Pheromone to summon in the Ant Queen so that we could fight her, so maybe that's going to be a crafting recipe that's added. It could also be used maybe to control ants. I think that's less likely, even though it'd be pretty cool to be able to control ants and maybe make them as pets. It's already been kind of confirmed that's not going to happen. So with that being the case, I think the Ant Pheromone is much more likely to be for summoning in the Ant Queen. So the next boss, if there is a next boss coming soon, I think would be the Ant Queen. That would make the most sense. There's others that have been speculated about, but there's no really confirmation on those, and there's not really been any. They've never been actually appeared on the feature board. So beyond that, I think it will be shown new bugs that could be added to the game. One that's definitely been mentioned several times, well, has been mentioned by the game director, was butterflies. I think it would make sense for butterflies to be added because they could potentially add there'd be another new, basically harmless enemy. They wouldn't really attack you. It could possibly make sense for the pupa that are up there, because while that could be pupa for maybe the ladybirds or something like that, I think it might make more sense if it was for butterflies. Also, the butterflies could add another tier glider. Let's see if we can take this guy out while we're just messing around here, because I am trying to farm the gold cards. So just give me 1 second. Roly-poly, super easy, and we're done. No gold card, but that's okay. Now, besides that, there's been other bugs speculated about. I'm not going to talk about the other ones. Like, everybody's been talking about the Mantis, and obviously the Ant Queen would be another technically enemy in the game. Beyond that, I've heard mention of earwigs possibly coming. There's also, while it wouldn't be a bug, it would be like I guess a creature. There is the snail shell. The snail would actually make sense. Even slugs, like something like that, just to add more enemies that are weak to salty. That would kind of make sense to me. So those are a couple of the new bugs. I think if they do an update, I can't imagine them doing another update without adding at least one new bug or something to the game, because right now there's just not that. Like, this last update didn't add any new bugs, and I think that kind of disappointed a lot of people. I was kind of okay with it, but others seem to be disappointed with it. Aside from that, they have mentioned there's going to be possibly new in-game systems that they wanted to be tested before 1.0. Now, those could be something maybe they add something similar to the upgrade systems, but for something else. I can't really think of those. It could also be something like a system that impacts the game, like a weather system. If they added weather to the game, whether it be just rain, sprinklers, fog, or something like that, that could be a system. While not something we actually directly control, it could be something that needs to be tested to see how it functions, because I could imagine adding specifically like rain to this game, or even the sprinklers turning on. That would have massive ramifications on how the game's played out, and it would be very interesting. I would imagine if they're going to do something like that, it would make sense to have that tested up front. Although it could be some kind of other in-game system for progression. I'm interested to see what they have to add in the future, because I do like the RPG mechanics. Obviously, I've had some disagreements on how they've been implemented up to this point, but I do appreciate the fact that they're adding more depth to the game, and they're at least trying to add more depth to the game and going in that direction. Now, aside from that, I think if they do something like that, they might also, or just in general, might just add another tier of crafting stations. So that'd be the next thing on my list, would be more crafting stations. Over 2 on the gold cards, that's okay. So crafting stations could be something along the lines of perhaps tiered crafting stations. Maybe the workbench gets a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Maybe the oven. I did ask during the last stream that Adam was on, the game director, about the oven being unlocked way too late in the game to make it as impactful as it probably should be. So I wouldn't be surprised if they consider doing something like that, although that might be a little bit too close to be adding at this point, because if the update is coming sooner rather than later, I can't imagine they would add something like that. Maybe they already had something in the works. Maybe they wanted to have tiered workbenches and stuff like that along the way, because many survival games have situations where you have to upgrade your workbench, upgrade your crafting stations, or just get different crafting stations to make higher level gear. Aside from that, it could be something to do with the upgrade system. Like I said, the upgrade system. So maybe they'll add more crafting stations. Maybe there's going to be a different smithing station. Maybe there's going to be a separate one for armor. Maybe they add like a loom or something. So that's for armor instead of it just being the smithing station. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. In addition to that, I think there's a good chance if they do show some new footage, anything new, might get some new burgle quests. I mean, easy new burgle quests that they could possibly add would be just killing new enemies. As you can see right now, I'm killing like the regular roly-polies. There's obviously the sickly roly-polies. There's a ladybird larva. There's black ox beetles. There's termites. None of those have quests involved with them. There's no quest involving crafting the armor for those enemies or any of the weapons associated with them. They could add completely new quests that are totally different. That'd be interesting to see. And I guess this guy must have got rid. I think I must have killed him recently, so he is gone. So it looks like we killed all the roly-polies again. So I'm definitely interested to see if they add quests like that. Maybe they even add some kind of different quest type. I don't know. I've suggested some in the past. It'll be interesting to see if they do add some diversity to it, because to be honest, doing the same kind of daily quests over and over again, I hope they at least make the things, even if they don't add brand new quest types, at least they don't make the ones we currently have where they appear over and over again. Because right now, like, I have craft B shoulder pads and craft red soldier ants. I'm pretty sure I got or kill red soldier ants. I'm pretty sure I got the kill red soldier ants back-to-back days. I completed it, then immediately got it again. I think the same thing happened with armor recently as well. So hopefully they do something about that and add at least more quests. That would at least give us something new to do and give us more reason to fight other things. It would also make it more likely that you want to go find all the gold cards, because if you're being coerced into finding certain enemies and killing them or getting their resources, that would make you more likely to get gold cards because you'll be killing them more frequently. Aside from that, as you can see here, I built myself this castle, and I built this specifically for faction raids. Now, unfortunately, despite my best efforts, I have not been able to get a faction raid other than red ants. I killed all the termites on this playthrough at least once. I went up on the deck up here and killed every single black soldier, and black worker ant. Didn't get raided by them. In a co-op world, we killed all the termites. I was playing with the original. We killed all the termites. Didn't get raided there. On more than one occasion, like the last 2 streams I did for Grounded, I went around and killed every spider that I saw. In fact, the last stream I did, I went to the hedge and I killed every single Orb Weaver Jr., and Spiderling that I ran into, and even came over by the oak tree and killed them and still couldn't get them. So hopefully they add more faction raids. Now, what could they possibly add for that? I think ones that would absolutely make sense would be larva and ladybird larva. Like the larva originally were the raid enemies, and we'll see if we can find any ladybird larva as we're wandering around here, because they do drop tough gunk, which is another thing that I could mention in just a second. And that's the fact that the larvae were the things that attacked first, and they were the ones that attacked your base at the very beginning. That was taken out. I think larvae would make perfect sense because they're in abundance and they are a aggressive enemy. So maybe adding larvae, I don't know about black ox beetles. Those might be a little tough unless they add something we're going to talk about, which would be next. We might as well just get it to the next thing, which would be the 8th thing. That was the 9th thing, and that'd be new building materials. There is mention on the feature board that they want to add new building materials or higher tier building materials. So perhaps if they add higher building materials, they could also have specific bugs attack. Like the ladybirds are actually aggressive. If we can find one, I might have killed those all recently too. The ladybirds are aggressive if they see you. The black ox beetles obviously are aggressive. Perhaps with higher building materials, it would make sense to have raids by them, because they will probably, I would imagine a black ox beetle, I haven't tested it, would burn through most of the walls we have right now, even the mushroom walls. This might be a little bit dicey, so let's see if we can sneak up and take her out without her doing too much damage to us. No, she's smarter than the roly-poly. She has, in fact, hit us. So you can't just cheese her fully, but that's okay. So, yeah, new building materials were something that was mentioned. Right now we have, the most recent thing we have is the new burr floors. It'll be interesting to see if they add burr walls. Of course, if they add something like that, it would definitely mean you'd have to turn off the haze. Or maybe they just add a new building material, because obviously, let's just start wandering over here into the new area if you haven't seen that. The new area over here could have new plant life, new vegetation, something like that. There are some different looking plants. There's a lot of grass and weed stems, but there are some different looking plants. So perhaps they're going to provide some type of higher tier defense. And then in addition to that, there's a couple other things that I think are less likely, because I think they might hold these out for 1.0. But the last 2 things I want to mention would be, if they add new bugs, they're probably going to, obviously the new bugs will come with some type of new resource. And if you didn't know, before I go over there, they did change some of the resources in the game. So a couple of things they changed were the tough gunk, which you just saw, which was, they changed the grub gloop to grub sludge. I think it was grub gloop to grub sludge. They changed the bioluminescent, I think it was goop, to glow goo. And they changed a couple other things. They changed one of the smoothies. They changed this is now tough gunk, and it used to be bug gloop. So they've changed a couple of the names here, and it was kind of weird that they did that in the .3 update after 13, so it was 13.3. Just found that kind of interesting. There was 1 or 2 more that they changed as well. So if they're going to add new bugs, they're going to obviously drop new resources, and this new area will probably have new resources. And along with that, would make sense would be for them to have new weapon, a new armor. So next thing will be, the last 2 things would basically be a new armor and new weapon. If they add a new bug, it would make sense for them new armor or weapon. If, for example, maybe they add the butterfly, maybe we kill the butterflies and we can make a new glider out of that. Maybe there's some kind of butterfly armor, something like that. Obviously, there's room for more armors in the game, because currently there is no light armor. So a butterfly maybe could provide like either a glider or a tier 3 light armor, because right now there's only a medium and heavy armor. I'm expecting there to be a couple more armors in the between now and 1.0, obviously, and of course at 1.0, I can't imagine they're just going to leave us with what we have right now. So at least a couple more enemies will come in, and we'll have new armor and weapon. So I don't know what kind of weapons they might show. Obviously, the one that has been leaked before has been the Mantis armor and scythe. If the Mantis gets added, I would imagine that would probably be saved for 1.0, because it looks like it would probably be, especially with a full armor set and a weapon, probably be some type of boss. So I would imagine that wouldn't be coming. Aside from that, I mean, if they added a new weapon or armor, it would make sense for them to add something like a tier 3 dagger or a tier 3, what is it, spear, because there's no tier 3 of those. There's also no tier 3 bow. And by the way, while I'm over here, just as an aside, there are lots of free resources over here in this area that's unpopulated. So you can find some quartzite over here. You can find lots of clay, lots of mushrooms, lots of toadstools, stuff like that, and weed stem. So head on over here and just check it out because it does look cool. And I do think, like I said, because they've updated this and they put a lot of work in this, it's already done. And they've also showed in their dev worlds, they've showed that the rest of the upper map up here had stuff in it. Well, now whether or not that's the final stuff or things that need to be changed, that's I don't know that. I don't know if that's the case or not. That stuff might already be done too. So there's a good chance they might be able to populate this with at least a bug or two and put out a new update for us to test. Maybe, like I said, add the weather system. But anyway, I'm rambling on at this point. I just wanted to share some things I think might be added in this next, or what might be revealed at the Xbox Game Showcase, because I do believe they're going to reveal something. I really am hoping that we get the 1.0 release date, because honestly, the game's been out for, we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary. I'd love to see the game in its full glory, have everything out there so we can give a final analysis on how good of a game it is in the end. And the game has definitely improved a lot over time. Got scammed on some quartzite right there, but that's okay. The game has definitely improved. There's been a ton of content added, and like they've said, they're wrapping the game up this year, and it'd be nice to know when they're doing that. Honestly, selfishly for me, so I can prepare what I'm going to do between now and then for videos and stuff like that, guides, and what I'm going to be doing after 1.0. And also, like, at the very least, I hope we get to see some kind of new content coming soon, because at this point, most people have either not even played the last update or they've already done everything. I would say, unless you're brand new, you've probably done everything, or maybe you're taking a break and waiting. I've had a lot of people saying they're waiting for 1.0, so I'm sure those people will be interested in that news as well. So anyway, let me know which of these 11 things you think might be revealed tomorrow. Just to recap, it was 1.0 release date, the next update, a new boss, which I was speculating would be the Ant Queen, a new bug, a new in-game system, whether it be some type of new crafting system or perhaps like a weather system, something like that, new crafting stations, whether it be different versions of the existing ones we currently have, like a tiered version of the workbench, or perhaps brand new ones, maybe something for the armor upgrades since we are using the smithing station for that. New burgle quests, new faction raids, new building materials, new armor, and new weapons. Those are the 11 things I thought might be coming. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of those. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And hopefully you'll all be watching the Xbox Game Showcase tomorrow. I will leave a link for how to watch that in the description down below. Thank you again for watching. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And if you want to support the channel even more, click the join card on the screen right now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.